Hey, everybody. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to find my volume. How's everybody doing tonight? It looks like we got a big rate already. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Got a Sivo girl. Hey, Sivo girl. I'll tell you my story, but story I told you about last night. I'll tell you in a little bit. Hey, Jay. I got Nan. Got Tokyo. I'm just gonna call him Tokyo. That's about as far as it goes. Emily Smiles. Got LD Henderson. And we got a werewolf. Looking forward to seeing this. Hey, I hadn't seen your name before, so thank you for coming in. And Willow Surge, I've seen yours before, so thank you for coming in. I always get to see Nan. I smile every time I get to see Nan's name on there. Victoria, you got to get Judge Fleischer back to work. Or make sure Lone Wolf's got enough feeds for us for the week. All right. Give y'all a little bit of news with YouTube. YouTube is not going to monetize me. I'm fine with that. I've got other options. I'm going to do other things. Got a few sponsors lined up. We're going to see how that goes. I've got a good Middleton hearing. I was going to do a live tonight with that, but I going to send it over to Jen Hardy. She's got an awesome interview coming up with an FBI profiler, and so that's going to be good for her. I'm going to be excited to see that. I've got some another Judge Oakley I didn't get to last night, and we've got a Judge Buckley out of Thurston County. I love Thurston County, so it's always fun to see that. Hey, Sean, good to see you tonight. Hey, Monica and Anthony. Looks like I've said hi to everyone. I'm not real good at that yet, so you're gonna have to remind me if I don't say hi to you. You make sure to scream at me. Jay does a real good job of screaming at me, so you guys jump on the bandwagon with that. We're gonna jump into the Judge Oakley from that I had carried over from last night.
Crystal Marie Medina, Your Honor, on behalf of Mr. Shupe, I believe a number of
good morning, Your Honor. Mohammed on behalf of the people. 86771.
Thank you. And Mr. Shupe, you can hear us all?
Yes.
Thank you. What do we got?
Your Honor, I think Mr. Shupe has several cases scheduled for pretrial. 2 of them are scheduled for an arraignment pretrial, Your Honor. We are prepared to waive formal reading and stand mute as to those cases, Your Honor. We would ask for an adjourned pretrial date so that we could receive and review discovery, and we would also ask to address bond, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, so it looks like cases ending in 45 and 46 are the ones yet to be arraigned. I'll enter not guilty, please, for Mr. Shupe.
Yes.
And let's see, for pretrials, pretty much any Wednesday.
Okay, Your Honor, give me 1 second here.
We'll pick a Wednesday and we'll schedule all the files for the same day.
I'm trying to see, Your Honor, because I'm going to be following this case, trying to see. Your Honor, if we could set it for the 14th, I don't want to put it too far out. If I can't be here physically, I'll have one of my colleagues cover, but I would not like to set it out past the 14th.
Yeah, February 14th, 10 o'clock.
That sounds good, Your Honor.
And that's going to be with Judge Green, so that's Zoom.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's talk bond.
Your Honor, I did have the opportunity to speak with APA Mohammed. He has spoken with, I believe, one of the complainants in these cases, I guess like a representative of the family, if you would agree. And he has a cash bond, a 10% bond on several cases. I believe his total is $3,000 at this time. He is unable to post a monetary bond. We would ask that the court consider a personal bond with a tether, Your Honor. My understanding is that there's to be no assaultive contact with the complainants. No assaultive contact with the complainants and not to return to the home address. Is that correct, APA Mohammed? If the court, of course, is in agreement, Your Honor, with what we have stipulated to.
So it would be, the people would request that this individual, if to be released, would be on a tether? due to his history of failing to appear and his criminal history. We'd also request that no physical contact with any of the victims or any even personal contact. The only contact the victim expressed to me is she wants to be able to communicate with her brother through the phone. So no assaultive contact and to remain on the tether if released.
Okay. The only problem with this is I'm the one that set his bond as I did because he told me he had no place to go except the address where his siblings were. And I can't give a GPS tether to a homeless guy.
And I understand that, Your Honor. I have spoken to my client today. He has indicated to me, that's why I wanted to set such a quick pretrial date, just in case he's not able to confirm an address. But in speaking with him today, he seems pretty certain that he's going to be able to reside with someone in Dearborn Heights. So he was going to make some calls. And so that's where we're at, Judge. We can revisit in 2 weeks if he's unable to provide a tether address by that time.
I'm not sure how it'll work. I suppose I could change the cash bond to a personal bond on those other files, require the GPS tether, and they're not going to let him out unless they've got an address that's been confirmed. I would assume.
That's exactly what would happen. And that's why, again, we would come back in 2 weeks. If he wasn't able to get an address, then we'll see where the cases are at that point and where the complainant's at and where everything's at.
All right. So what we'll do is I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 files for Mr. Shupe.
And I think
Good morning, Corporal.
Good morning, Your Honor. I was just going to add that he is receiving mental health treatment here. And if he does get that personal bond with GPS tether and he has no verifiable address, he can also be put in an inpatient treatment facility for mental health.
Oh, I'd rather have that.
Yeah. As long as it's stipulated on the minimuses, Your Honor, they can work with him and put him in a treatment center.
Miss Medina, maybe you need a breakout room because I'd rather have him in treatment than out at some friends.
Well, Your Honor, my understanding is that my client would like to be, if possible, Your Honor, released from custody. But of course, that would be up to the court to decide. It would be great if that could be an alternative. So if he's not able to get an address and able to be tethered, that then he be placed in inpatient. As opposed to just sitting in the jail, but we would still ask the court to consider a personal bond with a tether, Your Honor.
And Judge, just for the record, after speaking to the victim, she did express to us that she largely wanted this individual to receive some kind of treatment.
Right.
So we would stipulate to anything in regards to this individual receiving treatment.
Thank you. Mr. Shupe.
Yes.
Brother, I don't want you in jail.
Okay.
I think I made that clear to you last time I had you on video. I don't want you in jail, but I can't have you in the street.
Right.
And I want you in treatment. If the jail can put you right into treatment right now, are you willing?
Yes.
Listen to me. These problems with your siblings, you've been on a roller coaster, man.
I know, man. Since my mom died, I know.
We gotta get your head in the right spot.
All right. Your Honor.
All right, hear my heart. I think I'm doing this for you, buddy.
I think you are.
I think this is what you need.
Yes.
I mean, I could put you out in Garden City. Mr. Mohammed already gave me the okay, but I don't want that. I don't think that's what you need right now.
No, I don't.
All right. So, Corporal, let's be clear. If I put him on a personal bond on all files and require mental health treatment, that's what you need on the MIT.
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right. I'm not going to do the GPS tether. I'm going to order the no contact, but I don't want the tether to mess things up. I'm assuming, Corporal, if he's not in treatment, we're going to know it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are we all satisfied with that?
Yeah, I'm just confused. Deputy, does he require a tether to go into inpatient or no? It would be fine, a personal with mental
Your
health.
Honor, whatever the court wants. It's just once. They won't transport him to an inpatient treatment center because he's no longer on tether. He's not a tether. So he'll have to self-report. If he's on tether, we can transport and we can monitor.
Okay, so it's better to put him on the GPS tether.
Exactly.
I thought it was another impediment, and it's actually helping. Okay, so I'll order the GPS tether, I'll order the mental health treatment, and I'll order the no contact. So other than phone contact with your siblings, That's it, correct, Mr. Mohammed?
Yes, sir.
And remember, Mr. Shupe, that all of your calls are recorded now that we're talking about phone calls, okay?
I
All
know.
right, thank you.
Yes, I know.
Mr. Shupe, good luck to you, brother. So
Yeah,
on each one of these 5 files, I'm gonna put you on a $1,000 personal bond. That's your promise that you're gonna abide by those rules I just laid down.
Yes, I
You're in
will.
treatment, you're on the GPS tether, and nothing but phone contact with your siblings.
Right.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm and acknowledge the debts payable to the court in the amount of $1,000 times 5?
Yes.
Good luck to you. Corporal, thank you so much for your help.
Thank you, Your Honor. All the best to you and your staff.
Take care, Deputy.
All right, Councilman Medina, you guys have a blessed day.
Bye, you as well.
Begged his attorney to get a new date for him for his exam date. I don't think it was done, so he got a $5,000 cash capers. He understands the importance of being in court, wasn't trying to miss his court date, but it took him months and months, he said, to get the MRI scheduled, and they weren't going to reschedule it. So I'd asked the court to give him one opportunity, Judge. It's non-assaultive to make it to court, Your Honor. Cases from, I didn't understand this, 2/5/21 is when it was actually occurred, but it wasn't signed until 12/23/23.
Down, sir.
You know, so, you know, it took a couple of years to sign
Hand
it.
down. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Prosecutor.
Judge, I mean, with all due respect, I don't know how he was scheduling for an MRI because he was in jail awaiting sentence on a case for carjacking as well as armed robbery. He was on a cash bond over in Wayne County Jail.
Wrong guy.
So, and then, Judge, he ended up pleading in that case to felonious assault and larceny. So,
No.
and Judge, when he picks up allegedly, so he's on
Okay,
he's
Mr.
bond.
Prosecutor, Mr. Thornton is saying you have the wrong person.
This is Michael
Yeah, you got the-
Darnell Thornton. This is Michael Darnell Thornton. I know
You got the wrong person.
Yeah, Michael Darnell Thornton.
I never been locked up for carjacking.
No, you haven't. You were convicted of felonious assault and larceny.
I thought you said carjack.
You said
No, he
carjacking.
was charged. He was charged with carjacking. He was charged with armed robbery. He was charged with felonious assault. He was charged with larceny.
When
Those were
was
the
that?
charges.
When was that?
That was, Judge, I have that November 30th of 22. He ended up pleading to the felonious assault and the larceny.
Okay,
No.
so what did he do? This offense date, this entry date is on the 23rd, is on December 21st of 23. And
Right, Judge.
he had a hearing date that he missed in February of 24. So
Right.
what was that?
So,
That's in 24. So what would that have to do with
22.
saying something in 22?
yeah, the fact was that, Judge, following this incident, he ended up picking up that case. He ended up picking up a conviction on that case. Then he was arraigned on this case while he was on probation for that case. I mean,
No.
unless I have this all wrong, but
You do.
I mean,
It sounds that way. He missed the court date. He missed the court date. And
I never had a court date for
Hold on,
2020.
stop, Mr. Thornton. Don't talk when the judge is talking. Just let the judge talk. Let him talk and
My bad.
break it down. Let him break it down.
so he just missed his court date in January of 24, right?
Right.
So what happened in 22? The capias just happened.
Right.
the capias just happened, Judge, but my point was, and I have a CCH on this gentleman that, I mean, that validates his birthday. But anyways, Judge,
But I'm
my
saying
whole point.
he was not in custody.
You started
in
off by
24. He wasn't in custody in 24 on a carjacking case for 22, correct?
right.
Right, no, he was on probation, Judge. He
Right.
was
So
on
a person on probation can schedule an MRI. I
That was
mean,
gonna be my.
you still get to go to the doctor while you're on probation. I was confused at these dates. That I mean, if
Well, I apologize.
If he has an
Judge, maybe-
MRI, hold on. If he has an MRI scheduled last month, a few weeks ago, that has
Right.
nothing to do with a felonious assault charge from 22. That's where maybe I'm
Right.
missing.
Right, no, you're absolutely correct, and maybe I'm confusing myself here, Judge, with all of this, but if I could, let me just let me just start this over just really quickly. Yeah. So, Your Honor, he ends up allegedly committing this offense. Following this offense, he doesn't get arraigned, but he picks up another case for the armed robbery and the carjacking, felonious assault, and the larceny. He goes through the process. He has a cash bond over on that case. He ends up pleading to the larceny and the felonious assault. He's on probation when he gets arraigned on this case. And then, Judge, what happens is he fails to appear. And Mr. Reagan, I mean, I'm going to take him at his word. But ironically, after he gets arraigned on this case, he has a probation violation for failing to appear on the other case, which is a different time and date than the failure to appear on this case. So, Judge, there's just a lot going on. I understand it's only one failure to appear, but I just wanted Your Honor to get a little perspective in terms of this defendant knows what he needs to do in terms of getting to court, making his hearing dates. And now in the last month, we have a probation violation for a failure to appear, and we have a failure to appear on this particular case as well. But that's all I got, Judge. I'm done.
Court having heard the arguments of counsel, bonds reduced to 5,000 personal with GPS tether and a curfew of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Thank you.
I'm really sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine. All right. Hold tight on. Okay, Mr. Thornton, you're free to go.
Thank you.
And I apologize, Judge. I don't know if someone, I got the paper, I printed the paperwork out. If I could run it up to Mr. Benson, because I still don't have the email or.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, I'll do that
All
right now.
All right. All right.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
It was the right guy, though. I just did.
That prosecutor, he all cool, man.
For Mr. Shupe.
Hey everybody, we're going to jump back over to this. Some questions in there about me not being monetized. They got something called reuse, where they want anyone who's putting anything on YouTube, they want them to cut it up, put the commentary. That's why you see a lot of the different YouTubers doing a lot of the talking during the videos and all this stuff that they do to try to make it unique, try to make it to them. And that's not the style I prefer to do. That's not what I want to do. I just want to show court. In the end, I want to send it out there and let you guys make the decisions, but that's not what YouTube wants, and YouTube gets what they want, and so I'm fine with that. I'm gonna work with them, try to do something, but there's not a lot there. It just isn't gonna work for me, and so, but I'm gonna stick with it. I enjoy doing the lives. I enjoy doing what I'm doing. I'm learning a lot with it. I'm getting to meet a lot of people that I wouldn't have met before, so it's really exciting to me. I got a good Middleton hearing. And I was wanting to do that for the live tonight, but I got to be off before 9, or else I get it from Jen, and I don't want to upset her on it. She's put in a lot of work on what she's got tonight, and I'm excited to see it. In fact, we'll do our little advertisement for that. There we go. Tonight's guest with Jen is Penny Rose. Penny was a highly experienced forensic accountant with 20 years of financial crimes for the FBI. Throughout her career, Penny has worked with a wide range of cases, including complex financial crimes, cyber crimes, public corruption, money laundering, and national security investigations. Her dedication to the field and her commitment to justice has earned her an Agent of the Year award in cyber investigations. She'll be discussing counterintelligence case that's foreign, as well as her cyber investigation related to Apple Pay. That'll be interesting, because I know I give Apple Pay way too much money. And so I'm gonna throw that everybody over to her at 9 o'clock. And so thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that, and I appreciate April and everybody else's. Victoria saying, what if I play subtle music in the background? That gets you in even more trouble, Victoria. I'll explain some of that to you later. Got the Middleton hearing. I keep wanting to push that, because I'm thinking about doing a live on that in the morning. Because I don't get paid for this, understand that if you guys are wanting to be over at one of the other folks, there's no hurt feelings on this. I I've heard of some hurt feelings about it, but this is a big world, and there's plenty of room for all of us. There's great other channels that are doing lives right now. Spend your time where you want to spend your time. I enjoy you being here. I appreciate you being here, but just imagine it's 9 o'clock, so it's 3 or 8:20, so it's 2:20 in the morning for Linus. Y'all see Linus V in there? It's 2:20 in the morning, and she's up here knocking it out. So all we got to do is make sure that we're up in time for Kathy's live, and that's all that matters. All right, I'm going to send it over to Judge Buckley, and then at 9 o'clock, we're going to go over to Jen Hardy's channel. Thank you.
Sheila Benavente, Michael Parfett. And I'm pretty sure you're not Mr. Kessler.
No, Your Honor. My name is Peter Lindgren. I'm an associate with Mr. Kessler's firm. Mr. Kessler is in trial this morning, and he asked me to stand in for him.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Parfett and the Benaventes, if everybody would raise your right hands for me, please. Do I have the testimony in this case to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do. Hey, ma'am? Is that a yes, ma'am? I didn't hear you.
Yes, I do.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. All right, it appears the two parties here are neighbors, and just a very general summation of the petitioner's petition, as I understand it, is that Mr. Parfett yells over the fence at you. He peers over the fence, and he's making you uncomfortable in your own yard. Go ahead and add anything else that you think isn't caught by that summary.
No, that's about it, Your Honor. We put up an 8-foot fence to separate our world from his world. We've asked the home association to give us that permission to raise the fence just for that separation, but yet he still figures out a way to, it's like that's it. That's all, Your Honor.
And the safety of our granddaughter, who was here the day that he threw the branch over the fence.
All right. And when did the screening fence go up?
We started it last year.
Yeah, it was meant to be a slow process. Just whenever I got paid, I'd add a little bit to it. But when he started the harassment thing, we actually had to charge a lot of stuff to put the fence up. And then later on, we added sensors around the fence because it still didn't stop him. And then we added security cameras. He didn't seem to care about that, so we called the homeowner association to give us permission to raise the fence, and it's still not doing anything.
All right. And from the Benavente standpoint, what's your opinion as to what precipitated this, the nature of this relationship?
Well, it was an issue that I did, and it was my mistake, and I admitted it to it right off the bat, is that when I was working on the fence, what I thought was the green belt, there was a tree growing over into my yard. And there was like, I had to cut through 6 feet of blackberries and brush to get to that tree and cut that off so that I could continue my fence. I did not know at the time that it was private property. It looked like the green belt to me. And when he brought it to my attention, I apologized. And he said he would see what his attorney says about it. And that same afternoon, I looked out and he was grabbing my rope and my pulleys and my chains off the greenbelt and throwing it on his property. And I said, dude, that's my stuff. What are you doing? And he said, it's mine. So my property now, what are you going to do about it? That's at the point when I thought, I'm not dealing with a rational individual here. So I just kind of walked back in the house, and that's the way it's been ever since.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Lindgren, do you have any questions for the Benaventes?
No, Your Honor.
And you wish to have Mr. Parfett testify?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm also prepared to defend the motion or defend the Mr. Parfett's response to the petitioner's petition in this case. But if there's something you'd like to hear from Mr. Parfett.
Okay, we have not received a written response. So if there's a written response, it's not in the file. So do you have a written response from Mr. Parfett?
I do, Your Honor.
And have the Benaventes received that?
We have not.
We have not.
Okay, so I think since I don't have one and the Benaventes don't have one, I think the way you're gonna have to do that is have Mr. Parfett testify today. And since you have a statement, you can use that as your basis for asking him questions.
Very well, Your Honor.
Okay, so I'll just remind Mr. Parfett, you're under oath. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Lindgren.
So you want the whole story? Can I ask for a continuance?
Sure.
Okay.
So we've heard what the Benaventes have had to say.
Yes.
And Mr. Lindgren, as your attorney, can figure out how best to respond by asking you questions concerning what you believe the facts are.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Lindgren, go ahead.
Mike, in August of 2023, how did this dispute begin?
Prior to, or sometime in the beginning of early August 23, me and my wife noticed a large gap in the green belt property line owned by the HOA. And I went to go look at the property line and I saw numerous trees from the green belt, plus one large tree in particular had been cut down. Prior to that, prior to me going into the green belt, I delivered Mrs. Benavente a note, which I believe is in evidence, that said, can Roy contact me to talk about the tree he took down? She told me that he was on the river fishing and she would get him the note. I went into the green belt and I went onto our property corner. I had rented a special tool that'll find a surveyor's hub. And I was looking for the property corner when within 20 minutes, Mr. Benavente approached me in the green belt and on my property, demanded to know what I was doing on his property. I wasn't on his property. I was on my property in the green belt. In his statement, he states that, or somebody states that I accused him of taking the property stake. I never once accused him of taking the property stake. He actually showed me where it was. It was under the cover of an iron pipe. So I pulled the iron pipe. I checked with the special metal detector, and that's the property corner. So I said to him, I said, if this is the property corner and that's the tree on my property, then you cut down my tree. And prior to that, we had a conversation about he had gotten a plot map from the county and that the map was wrong. And I told him it wasn't. I asked to look at his map. He said, no. I said, do you want to look at my phone? Because I was on the website for the county. He said, no. He said, I could go buy a map from the county office like he did. Then we could look at my map.
Okay, so let me just stop you there so you understand what I need here. I'm not going to be able to resolve any property issue if there's any dispute about that.
Right.
Okay. What I am concerned about is the relationship between the parties as a result of this. So to focus, if you'll focus your questions to Mr. Parfett about that, about how whatever transpired between the parties after that is what I'm looking for. So go ahead.
I've met them on 4 occasions. Once I delivered a note. Once I talked to both of them through a closed front door with a witness. The other 2 instances was on April 31st when he approached me in the greenbelt and on my property, and then August 31st, and then on April 13th, I was in the greenbelt cleaning up the tree he cut down and some other damage and things like that, and they beat on their fence to get my attention. I was running a chainsaw. I had hearing protection in. I had hand tools. and I hollered, "I'll talk to you when I'm done." When I quit running the chainsaw, I went and stood on a stump in the greenbelt, looked over their fence, got their attention, and asked what was going on, what did they want, whatever. We had a verbal altercation. They said I threw a branch over the fence. I told them it wasn't on purpose. I'm cleaning the backyard up. I'm throwing branches and stuff behind me, running the chainsaw. I mean, you see the video, you do see something go over the fence. It wasn't intentional. I didn't.
Okay, since that date, have you had any contact with the Benaventes? And do you on any regular basis look over their fence outside of the incident you just described?
No, not on a regular basis, no.
Okay.
Mike, when you asked the Benaventes to pay for the tree, did you leave when they asked you to?
Yeah, they submitted a video. It shows 15 seconds of them asking me to leave their property, and that's what I did. It doesn't show maybe the minute or longer before that, where he told me that we could talk through the door. There's none of that in context. It's just them yelling at me, asking me to leave their property, which I did. I've never been on their property since.
How many times since the tree was cut down do you think you've interacted with them?
Since the tree was cut down, twice. When I talked to him through the door about the damages, and then on April 13th.
Have the petitioners ever tried to seek a protective order against you before?
Apparently, this is the second time. I wasn't aware of anything the first time around. They make a statement that they tried to get an order sometime last year, I'm assuming. And it, I don't know, was squashed or null and void or something. I don't know what happened. I wasn't even aware of that.
Have the petitioners ever called the police on you?
Yes. On March 8th, it looks like there was a call made that I was sitting in front of her house and I would park for a few minutes and drive away. I did a PDR. I got the audio of the 911 call, and I did another PDR, and I got the officer's notes. In either through the notes or the audio, there's no description of me. There's no description of the vehicle. I've never intentionally parked in front of their house. Also, in that audio phone call, she references something to the effect that I threw the top of the tree that they cut down on top of their shed. And that's not what happened. Prior to her calling on March 8th, we had some windstorms or something like that. And we lost another tree on our property, and it went down into a healthy tree on our property. It went into the damaged tree that the Benaventes cut down, and it fell across their fence and onto their shed. It was still attached to the ground. We didn't hear anything from them or anything. On April 13th, we went out there, I cut up the tree that fell over, pulled it all off of their fence and off the top of their shed from my property line, got it out of there, untangled it from our healthy tree, and I cut the tree up that was on the ground. When they approached me on the 13th, they never said anything to me about throwing the branches up on top of their shed. And it wasn't the branches from the tree he cut down. It was from a tree that fell down. The root ball was still attached to the ground, and we just cut it up. It was our tree. We cut it up. We pulled it out of their fence and off the top of their shed. But part of this, you don't have that. They don't have that, because the documents I got say I have 7 days to file any evidence, and I didn't get 7 days to file it. And there's another RCW or something, the sheriff has to serve me with 5 days, and I wasn't even served with 5 days. I've had basically 3 business days to do PDRs, to find an attorney, to get things put together.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Mike, during the interaction over the branches falling in their yard, the first one, were you carrying a firearm or some other kind of weapon?
No.
And is it true that it has only been 4 court days since you were served with this?
Yeah, I was served on Wednesday, or no, excuse me, Tuesday afternoon, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, with a court date on Monday morning.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. Benaventes, anything else you want to add?
You know, Your Honor, we just want to be left alone to live our lives. We don't care about what goes on outside. Like I said, we apologize for the tree, but that apparently didn't stop him. We just want to enjoy our retirement years and just enjoy our backyard. That's all.
All right. Thank you.
It always makes me nervous when the judge starts writing. That'd be the most terrifying part of the trial to me. As long as someone keeps talking, I keep thinking the judge is off his track. But when they start writing, you know they made their choice.
I've listened to the testimony of the parties in this case, and I had previously reviewed the exhibits that had been filed by the petitioners. And I do understand that Mr. Parfett was indicating that if given his preference, he would ask for more time to prepare. But after hearing all of this, I'm going to deny the petitioner's request for a protection order. Thus is why I'm not addressing the respondent's request for a continuance. It appears that there's been this dispute over apparently the tree led to some contention between the neighbors, and the relationship sort of went downhill after that. But the contacts have been limited. I don't have any evidence of any contact subsequent to the 13th of April. And I don't find in here a basis for me to enter a protection order. So I'm going to deny the Benavente's request for such an order. What I will indicate, Mr. Parfett, is one, if you're seeking reimbursement for the cut tree and an apology is not enough, make sure any contact is through counsel, not through you.
Yes, Your
Go to
Honor.
the door and hand them a bill or anything.
Yep.
They've made clear they don't want contact from you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And they're on their property, you're on your property. They don't want to have discussions about the property. If you have objection to how they're administering their property, or if you think they're cutting your property or the green belt or whatever, either go to the HOA or contact counsel and have counsel contact them.
Yep.
But you can see how we're here in court because of the nature of the contact. I watched the video and I heard both parties yelling, so I understand that. I just strongly suggest that you avoid contact with the Benaventes in any fashion unless you're going through third parties because you have certain issues.
And
the Benaventes understand the nature of this, and I would strongly suggest Mr. Parfett is also asking that you not contact him directly, and I've heard you say all you want is peace on your property, so I suspect you'll be happy not to contact Mr. Parfett. So hopefully this will bring we'll put this issue to bed for now, and hopefully this will bring some at least peaceful coexistence. You may not have to become best friends, but as neighbors, each party would probably like to enjoy their property peacefully without feeling under threat from the other. So let's see if we can leave it that way.
Understood.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your
Thank
Honor.
you. And we'll give you a copy of the
Thank you, Your
denial
Honor.
order. And for the Benaventes, you're not present, but a copy of this order will be available to you in your electronic file with the court.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. All right, we have Ms. Hobson present and Ms. Robert present. And Mr. Robert is present and Mr. Landis is present, all of those by Zoom. So Ms. Robert, Mr. Robert, and Ms. Hobson, raise your right hands for me, please. Swear that testimony in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. I know I saw the parties on Friday in regards to the appeal of the small claim ruling. And I told you at the time, I knew you were coming into court today. I had previously reviewed the petition in this case. And so I am familiar with the issues raised. Ms. Hobson, Mr. Landis is serving as your counsel, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Frankly, I'll just ask, well, since you're represented by counsel, I'll go through Mr. Landis. Mr. Landis, as I've indicated, I've read Ms. Hobson's petition. I've reviewed the other documents and also reviewed the response from Ms. Robert and associated documents. Do you have any other factual testimony you wish to have elicited prior to making argument in this case?
I don't believe so, Your Honor. If Your Honor has any particular questions or if something comes up from Ms. Roberts' testimony or Mr. Roberts' testimony, we'd like an opportunity to respond if need be, but I think the record is pretty complete in terms of the evidence that we have filed.
All right, thank you. And I mean, both parties have filed fairly extensive evidence and I have reviewed it. So I just want to indicate that to the parties. All right, Ms. Robert, do you have anything you want to add that's in addition to what you have already filed?
There was new evidence presented and I quickly responded.
Okay, you're going to need to really speak up because you're coming in very soft.
Okay, can you hear me better?
That is better, yes.
Okay, thank you. The response filed by the petitioner just a few days ago, I attempted to respond to rather quickly, but they brought up new questions regarding why we hadn't filed any additional or served them with any additional official notices from the property manager. And she's here as a witness just in case that's even relevant.
Okay, and is that Ashley or Kylie?
That's Rachel Taylor.
Rachel, I'm sorry. Okay, I bet I know Ashley and Kylie. Okay, and so nothing else factually, Ms. Robert?
No, I presented everything.
Right, thank you. And Mr. Landis, on behalf of the petitioner, your argument. And once again, I read your declaration that you had filed recently.
Thank you, Your Honor, and I appreciate you going through the record. It's fairly long and voluminous. I think just to simplify and cut to the key elements here, the respondent doesn't deny that there was electronic surveillance of both of my client's children and at least 6 of their friends on multiple occasions. The justifications that she provides don't really hold water. Primarily, the law does not immunize unwanted surveillance or monitoring or tracking, even if it's on a public or open portion of a social media site. The key is whether that monitoring and tracking makes someone, adult or child, feel frightened, intimidated, or threatened. In fact, the worksheet for the protective order petitions that the court issues makes that clear. It specifies 3 questions that a petitioner has to answer. One is whether the other person has contacted, attempted to contact, monitor, or tracked, kept under observation, or follows you. Number 1. Number 2, that the behavior happened 2 or more times. And number 3, you feel intimidated, frightened, or threatened. And in fact, the respondent does not contest that my client's children felt intimidated and threatened. And in fact, the same is true of the 6 other children, minor children, teenagers, that were contacted multiple times on the social media sites. One of them, in fact, made it clear that Ms. Robert had done it again, and it was actually scary. And what concerns us in this case is that even after Ms. Robert was notified by my client of the concern to her children and a request that it stop, and even after my client notified her other landlord, Ms. Robert's husband, at length about the concern that she had and the concern for her children's well-being, there was no response whatsoever. Not at all. No shred of concern has ever been exhibited by the respondent for that issue, which is really the key to a protective order. In addition, the respondent did try to contact or access the private sites several times, not just once, several. Once in April 2023, she attempted to access a private portion of Juliet, my client's daughter, her social media site on Instagram. She was blocked. Then earlier this year, she tried.
Mr. Landis, let me interrupt just so we can make sure the record's clear. And by access, you mean by submitting a request to either in friend and Facebook, or I can't remember what they call it on Instagram, but you have to file a friend request essentially, and that's what you're referring to?
Yes, Your Honor, that's essentially right.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
And so that happened twice, as far as we know, to Juliet. And the second time was earlier this year on a different social media platform called Snapchat. And in that same week, Ms. Robert requested access, again, requested being a friend to one of Juliet's very good friends, Lauren, also on Snapchat. So the key here is that this happened multiple times. There is no defense that it was only on an open portion. That isn't something that the law immunizes. And finally, and most importantly, it caused emotional distress, considerable emotional distress to my client's children and her friends, and my client and her husband as well.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Landis. And Ms. Roberts?
Good morning, Your Honor. I'd just like to respond kind of point by point. I absolutely have not attempted to contact in any way these youth. I have not messaged them, emailed them. I have only viewed the profiles. It's, as I said in my answer, it's possible that on Snapchat, the follow button is rather large. And when you're on your phone, it's super easy to hit a follow request and attempt to follow that person. It's not like a friend request. It's just, Snapchat doesn't even have like, it's a messaging platform. It's not really, as far as I'm aware, it's not like stuff that you don't post things. And I have no need to be friends with these kids. I have no need to message these kids. I was just screenshotting the evidence as I saw it on social media of parties at our house, things involving our house, and multiple children, multiple youth that are at the house are simultaneously posting, hey, you know, here's a selfie, we're at a party in the backyard, here we are with all of our friends, of like 25 and 30 kids. And the petitioner had previously been put on notice that this was absolutely unacceptable in our property. And, you know, they're climbing in the trees, they're dancing on the roof. And so I just merely was trying to document the evidence of the lease violations and the shenanigans that were ongoing. I've never contacted anybody. I've never messaged anybody. I've never followed anybody, attempted to follow anybody. We live 2 hours away. I'm not we're not at the house while they were living there, trying to monitor the comings and goings. I have third-party reports coming to me from the neighbors who I know because we lived in that home for several years, and they are telling me, hey, there's another party at your house. There's another thing happening. There's cars lining the street. I've produced multiple pieces of evidence of the documentation that came from social media, that came from public, open social media. So I have no reason or desire to be contacting these kids, and for that matter, for the or anyone related, friends, whatever. So I don't believe that they're afraid, because all their social media things are public. If they're afraid, they'd make them all private. they're all public. They post it out, they post stuff out there because they advertise parties online and they want everyone to see what they're up to. It's part of that, you know, youth culture, but it requires, you know, in my opinion, it requires parenting to say, gee, what are you putting out on social media? And what does that say about you and what you're doing? And, you know, when they're posting photos with, you know, beer cans in hand, it's, you know, it's evident what's going on. And I merely was trying to document that for our own purposes because these people were renting our home and over the course of 3 years there is extensive damage to our home. And it's kids running amok and just people not taking care of things, people claiming no responsibility for damages, for behaviors, even though they say in an email, yes, I'll make sure.
Okay, I'm not the small claims court, so I'm not gonna get into the issue of
I understand.
damage and responsibility.
The line's definitely blurred.
All right, so Ms. Robert, you'd indicated that you had made no attempts to contact them, but I saw screenshots of at least 2 friend requests. So to me, that seems like a desire to contact or to get access to private displays.
Which screenshots are you referring to? So
Well, your name appears on a couple.
That's just that I viewed the profile or that I viewed the open profile, not that I was attempting to be a friend. And I think they're the same one, even though they're listed separately. Let me find.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my understanding is those are friend requests where you're asking to participate in their particular postings. I don't know that that automatically happens if you just log in and look at their site.
For Snapchat, that's the one I think was inadvertent. Like you can just be scrolling on your phone and accidentally hit the blue bar because it goes all the way across, and that then sends a follow request. It's not a message. It's not anything. It was inadvertent. It wasn't on purpose. My phone is fairly small and, you know, it's easy to accidentally hit it, I guess, when you're looking at the open profile. Like it's a public profile, anyone can look at it, and then to accidentally hit the follow button is something that is very easy to do and wasn't done intentionally. The exhibit 4 is the only one I see where there's a request. The rest of them just say that I viewed the profile along with multiple other people who are also not friends who have viewed the profile. That's all I see. 1 accidental on Snapchat. On exhibit 4. When it says follow next to it and it's red, that's you press that button on TikTok if you want to follow that person's TikTok. That was not what I was doing. I never clicked that. If I did, it would say follow back. Exhibit 3 and exhibit 4 are exactly the same incident. So it shows exhibit 3 that I added someone on Snapchat, and then it shows an exhibit 4 except, you know, added except friend. That's the same situation. It happened one time and it was accidental, and it was a year ago when I was first looking at all the social media, trying to determine what was going on at our house because of the.
Okay, and exhibit 6.
Exhibit 6. Exhibit 6 just shows that profile views. There's two Exhibit 6s. One says 907 at the top, and it just shows that I viewed a profile. It doesn't even show whose profile I viewed. And the second Exhibit 6 shows 108 at the top. And that again just shows that I viewed a profile, not that I attempted to follow them. Just that I.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Landis, you get the last word.
Your Honor, as my client's declaration and her initial petition makes clear, there were multiple attempts to access, but not only of her children, but at least one of the friends. As you can imagine, it is the only way to capture that evidence is if the child at the time takes a screenshot of the attempt. And what we provided were examples, and it's not exhaustive. I'm relying on the declaration of my client, and certainly if it becomes an issue, we can ask each of the other friends, the other minors, to submit declarations. But I think the important thing here is that whether she accessed a public portion of the site or tried to get access into the private portion, the law makes no distinction between the two. The law forbids unwanted surveillance, even if it's through, peering through a binoculars on somebody's sidewalk or a public park, or following them. It's that there is no distinction that the law makes that requires actual intended access to a private portion of a social media site. But Your Honor, I would like to make a suggestion about how I think we can resolve this dispute fairly readily, if Your Honor is willing to hear that.
Go ahead.
My client and her family have moved out of the house. The tenancy is over. And so the justification that Ms. Robert has provided to previous monitoring of the social media sites, whether or not it was legitimate at the time, it is no longer any reason whatsoever to conduct any observation of public or attempted private sites. And so if Ms. Robert simply promises here in court not to continue the behavior, not to do it again, and apologizes for any emotional distress that has been caused to these children, then we will withdraw the request for the protective order.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Robert, do you want to respond?
Yes, Your Honor, there is one more thing I wanted to respond to, and that is, we actually hired a property manager for the—
Right, okay. Okay, hold on. Just with Mr. Landis has indicated there'll be a withdrawal of petition for an order if you're indicating you have no desire to further contact the parties.
I agree, Your Honor. I have no desire. The only contact I'm going to need to have is with the parents, and that's regarding damages to our home.
Your Honor,
Okay,
Your Honor,
hold
may
on.
I say something? Only because of the fact that in regards to this situation, I feel that the testimony from us is actually super important, because there is a piece in regards to what Greg is saying, in regards to his request for her to cease those things because they're out of the property. I would like to state that the Roberts actually came and hired management because they wanted no further contact with them, due to the fact that the harassment from what the only reason I feel like this is somewhat
Ms. Taylor,
relevant.
hold on. Ms. Taylor, hold on. What's your relationship here? Are you one of the property managers? You're muted.
Yeah, and the reason I feel it's somewhat relevant is because,
Okay, I'll decide whether I need you're one of the property managers?
yeah, and the owner of Pettit Property Management, yes.
Okay, so do you agree that Ms. Hobson and her family have moved out?
They have vacated the property, correct?
Okay, all right. Okay. So thank you. I've heard Ms. Robert indicate that she has no further interest in contacting the children of Ms. Hobson, either directly or indirectly. And obviously, and Ms. Taylor is the one responsible for closing up the property and moving it along. I can't imagine any interest you would have in the activities of the children going forward. Is that accurate? Ms. Taylor, is that accurate?
That would be accurate. My concern is that Greg Landis has actually told the tenants, even though they have vacated, in multiple correspondence since we took over, that we are not the point of contact. And they refuse to go through us and keep going to the Roberts directly due to his, and I have written proof, his direction.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
That's why I think it's important.
I'm not going to get into that. Okay. Mr. Landis is their attorney, is representing them, and he'll take actions he believes is appropriate. So, all right. I'm going to note the withdrawal of the petition by Ms. Hobson and indicate that Ms. Robert has agreed not to reach out to the children, and this doesn't, this doesn't create a barrier to the adult parties contacting each other in regards to the current ongoing dispute over the tenancy and any damages that may have resulted therefrom and the return of the deposit. Those issues are issues that adults are fully capable of handling through the processes that are created. And that would be the expectation. I will say, frankly, that this was going to be the result, in my mind, whether Mr. Landis had suggested it or not, because I do think that hosting things in public arenas is basically inviting observation. As I suspect lots of landlords review public postings of tenants to make sure that what they're seeing is appropriate. If people want what they're doing not to be observed publicly, they probably ought to take more precaution. Who else does this? Law enforcement does it. The number of convictions that are obtained when somebody posts things online and, I wasn't there, but then it shows them there with the knife or the gun in the hand, whatever. Who else uses it? Schools. Kids applying to college. What do they like? Colleges peruse their social media all over the place, looking to see what are they really like. So it's a fairly common thing, and the expectation these days, and this is coming from me, who I am on no social media, so for a very intended purpose. But those who decide to put themselves on social media are opening themselves to observation by folks way beyond their intended audience if they put it public. And so there just ought to be caution. And Ms. Hobson sitting right in front of me, and she's hearing me say this. And I'm just indicating that from where I sit, that would be, I would hesitate to restrict people's ability to observe what is appearing in front of them directly. Now, I also agree that since the tenancy is ended here, there would be no basis for Ms. Robert or Mr. Robert, or in fact, Ms. Taylor and the agency that is administering the property to then peruse anything going on with the kids unless somehow they show up back at the property having a big party or whatever. But beyond that, they should not be observed in their social media gathering. That would then indicate to me a surveillance that's going on because there's no reasonable issue that either the Roberts or Ms. Taylor would have in the activities of the Hobson family. So I will sign the denial order with that understanding that there will be no further looking at the public media of at least the children of Ms. Hobson. And the parties as adults can continue in their attempts to resolve the legal issues that have previously been before the court and I know are now moving on to an appellate review. All right, and Mr. Landis, I'll sign an order to this effect and it'll be available in the district court file for the parties and same for the Ms. Robert. I'll sign a denial order. Okay.
All right, that's over. Leave kids alone. Stop being creeps on people. Stay off social media. And if you're going to commit the crime, don't post it. I think we learned a lot from that. It is what it is. Hey, thank you for coming out. We set you up exactly for, we're moving over to Jen Hardy's broadcast. She's got a cool guest named Penny Rose. Thank you everybody for coming out. I really appreciate it. We've got a Discord. We try to play around on that. We invite anybody to come out there and check that out. We've got a, Jay, you got to remind me what's it called? Buy me a coffee or something in the LinkedIn that would help out the moderators to thank them for the work that they're putting in. I really appreciate the work they're doing and all they're doing. You know, Victoria's got to put her kids through school, so we need something to go in there. Thank you everybody for coming out. I'm going to talk with Kathy, see about doing the stream maybe in the morning after she gets done with hers. If nothing else, I'm just getting some practice with it, and I appreciate y'all checking it out. Thank you, Mike Osako, for coming out. It's always awesome to see you out here. Victoria, Siva Girl, Amanda Panda, and everybody. I truly appreciate y'all coming out. It's a neat experience. And if anybody ever thinks they want to do it, try it. It's a lot different than what you think. I often thought a podcast or something like that would be super easy, but it's not. You get out there and try talking for 5 minutes. Tokyo Gaijin put out a new Fleischer on Fleischer. It came out during the podcast. We've got a link to it on our Discord. I'm sure he's got a link to it on his Discord, and I'm sure Kathy will have one on hers. So make sure you go to check it out. We're going to end the stream and send everybody over that way. Thanks so much again for coming out.